Hello, and a warm welcome to This Woman's Work, a space where you can hear and read about some amazing women, the fantastic jobs they do, and the paths that have led them to where they are today. I'm here today with Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Could you tell the lovely listener what it is you do for a living?
I am a reflexologist and I work from my home and also mobile as well. And I do facial reflexology, foot reflexology, hand reflexology, and I can tailor that to certain groups, so like menopausal, fertility, maternity.
Well, hang on, we can't even go into that yet.
Sorry,
That's a whole topic in itself for
away.
this podcast. Well, it is though, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. Okay, brilliant. As always, before we go too far forward, we're going to chuck a little bit back and talk about little Katie. Mm-hmm. So when you were younger, when you were at school, what were you like? What were you into?
So very little Katie, so primary school Katie, I was very much in my own little world, very happy playing, so very happy at home. At school, say I found that far more difficult,
Right.
just because I was very shy.
Yeah.
So I think I can now recognise like those early signs of anxiety and, being on the playground.
Honestly, it's a really common theme that comes up in these pods.
Yeah, so, I enjoyed...
But you had sort of friends and...
I had friends, yes. It was quite a little primary school I went to. There were far more boys in the class, so I just found, I was just happier playing alongside the boys. It was less bitchy, that kind of thing.
Yes,
So,
less problems.
Less problems, yes, far more simple. And then, secondary school again, I think I just, that it continued on, just finding it a little bit difficult, I would say.
And finding sort of girls a little bit difficult.
Yes.
But what were your favourite subjects at secondary then?
So at secondary it was languages, loved languages, and I liked a bit of science. I didn't mind history, a bit of RE, but maybe it was languages were my absolute favourites.
Brilliant, okay.
Yes.
So then did you go to college?
So I went to college and then I continued on with languages, and part way through things started to take. I was hoping to continue on with languages and go to university to do languages and go from there, but halfway through doing my A-levels my mum got diagnosed with leukemia and it was very progressive, so that took a bit of a twist. And then obviously if you're learning to go off to university to do languages, for one you're not going to be at home, but also to actually be abroad, it was just it wasn't going to happen. So that took a turn, and then so I suppose I was without a direction for all that period really. So
tried to figure out what the best thing to do was. For your family and you.
Very much so. So halfway through I completed my A-levels.
In what did you do in the end?
I did French, English, business studies, and then I did a Spanish AS level as well.
Okay,
so, yes.
fair enough.
Yeah.
And then what was the plan after that?
So the plan after that, I had a year off.
Yeah.
Before I went to uni, just to kind of see what was going on, just to have a bit of a break.
Your mum was still...
That's it, yes. Yeah, just so I did little bit jobs. And then I went off to university to give it a go. Went off first of all to Leicester to do languages, but I didn't stay. It was just too much, even though it was only Leicester, so it's not far from home, but it was mum's, it was, when she got diagnosed, it became, so she had chronic myeloid leukemia, and then it progressed very quickly to acute, which means that at that time, it's probably so different now, unfortunately, but, then it was going to be incurable, so it was just having treatment to, she was put herself forward for trials, so it was completely unknown, so I knew then, it wasn't going to be... It was going to be awful to be going across to France and Spain, what have you. I wasn't going to be able to do that. Plus, Mum was, because she was taking part in trials, she was at Hammersmith Hospital.
Okay.
So you take it in turns, I was commuting down to see her in Hammersmith.
To get to as well, isn't it? It's not like it's just North London or something.
No. And at the time, is when I look back, of course, at college and at university, I never said what was happening. And I don't know whether, it's just...
What, to anyone?
No, I just, so nobody actually knew my home situation, so...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so, and I think obviously it crumbled.
Do you think you almost weren't wanting to accept it was going on, or you just wanted to manage it in your own way?
Yeah, I think it was me keeping
control
of
over it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So.
I get that.
So yeah, I came back home and I did more little jobs, and obviously in that time Mum did pass away, die, and I she kind of helped me in a way to know what to do next, and I bizarrely went on to teaching. I say bizarrely, both my mum and dad were teachers. We come from such a family of teachers.
Yes, okay.
And
had you maybe thought initially that you might be a language teacher or something then, or hadn't connected the dots quite that far?
I never ever wanted to be a teacher, because growing up as girls we were like, none of us had become teachers.
Because so how many have you got? Sisters?
2 older sisters.
Like, no one's a teacher.
Nobody's a teacher. Do
right.
not let the team down. Because it's like, you don't want to be like your mum and dad, do you, sort of thing. And because the whole family were teachers, so it was always like, oh God, they rang on about the national curriculum and all this kind of stuff. Like,
yeah. They didn't have a teacher at your school, though, did they?
No.
Okay.
No.
Could have been worse then. There's people out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, fell into teaching. Where I worked, it was the energy efficiency place in Peterborough, and it had a little bit where the children would come in to learn about saving energy and environmental sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I used to like helping my friend with the creative part of planning and what have you.
Yeah.
So then that led to me going into childcare, going to the nursery, and Mum was like, well, why don't you have a crack at doing teaching or going into a school, what have you.
Yeah.
I did apply for university, so Mum helped me, and then that's when when I got accepted, and then Mum died, so so I used to commute back and forth to Lincoln from home, because I didn't want to leave, it was just me and Dad at that point, so I used to commute to Lincoln. Got a teaching degree in early years. So,
brilliant.
Yes, so yes. I've missed out a big chunk.
Oh my gosh, well. Okay, tell us. Yeah.
In the middle, I also did with my sister, we did so in the whole what are we going to do with ourselves, and then of course everything was centred around Mum, and with her being back and forth to Hammersmith Hospital, and then we were exposed to really, we slept down in Hammersmith Hospital. It was, it was
full on.
Yeah. And so we got to really live it, and you get to know the nurses, and Mum had to be in her own room. She had to be isolated, so it was almost like hope, because she became neutropenic, so she was very vulnerable to infection. So it was really intense. But then we were exposed to other things like complementary therapies, and so my sister and I decided this we'd love to help people as well, and do it for Mum as well. So we did a complementary therapy course together at the then regional, the Tech in Peterborough, for a year together, which was great. So that's where it was.
Sort of the interest sort of sparked.
Yes, that's when it starts. So we did aromatherapy, massage, reflexology, and nutrition. And the irony is, at the time when I did it, I've got to do this reflexology thing. It's all part of it. Oh, it sounds a bit weird to me, but I'll have a crack.
Interesting.
And it was the one thing out of all, I loved them all, loved aromatherapy, do it all that, but the reflexology, I was like, oh my God, because of course you're having to do it on each other all the time. And not only did I like doing it, but actually see if I could, the benefits that I had from it were almost instant. I was like, oh, okay, this is good. I love this. So that's where the introduction came, and it was lovely doing it with my sister. But all the time, obviously, Mum was just getting poorlier and poorlier.
Yes.
And we were very much of the belief, it was a complementary therapy because we were living and breathing it. And then it...
Well, also, it's probably just something nice for you two to do together and giving everything that's going on.
Yes.
It's something to take your mind off it, isn't it? And focus on. And
that's it.
I think whether you're aware of that or not, you and your sister are very smart, quite clearly.
I'll
like
take that.
in a smart. Like we've got good guardian angels.
Yes. Yeah. We both did the course, but I think we were intending obviously to go into practice and, work in the industry, but it just, I think what we underestimated, because we were in it as such, and Mum was really ill towards the end, and we thought, oh God, this is just actually all too much. And I think I look back now, I probably wasn't mature enough as well to go into it, and I was just too vulnerable.
But 20 years ago, that would have still been considered quite an out there kind of career path, wouldn't it? So
very much so.
You'd have had to have either, you know what I mean, gosh, with everything going on with you, to have then had the kind of that clarity or whatever to go, and even that, I say bravery, it's not really bravery, isn't it? Because it's almost sort of, if you'd have said to anybody back then, 20 years ago, you can do it, they'd have gone, oh, it would have been a kind of...
Very much so.
You're not going to get a normal job. Yeah. So...
Yeah, definitely.
So I can see why it didn't quite happen.
Yeah.
But then you went on to teaching, you thought you'd do that. Yes. And I guess were you still then practising on friends, family?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's always been something that I've
just carried on with.
Yes.
So at what point then did you start to think about leaving and changing tack?
Mm-hmm. So it was always kind of an ongoing sort of thing. I think that's a lot of teachers were always thinking, I suppose anybody actually, to be fair, everyone's always got like little dreams, haven't they? But I had my little boy, so I think it's 8 years ago, and went off to have him. I suppose I just found it really hard, the identity of it all, just like, I've almost felt slightly embarrassed to not have
working.
a job. Yeah.
Oh, I
found that quite painful.
Just telling someone you're just a mum.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh,
awful.
well, what, that, you know.
Yeah.
I felt exactly the same.
Yeah.
Which is why I tried to go, I did go back to work for that exact reason.
Yeah.
I can't not work.
Yes. Yeah.
God, the pressure we put on ourselves is just...
Which I
do,
crazy.
I
wish I never, felt like that, but it was, silly, so silly, but, so...
So when did things start to fall into place?
When did things start to... so I think, as awful as it was, COVID really kind of, it just shifted so much for everybody, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Good and bad. Just such a bizarre time. So in that time, my son was going to start school, but because...
During COVID?
Yes, so he was reception. He was due to start reception. So I'd had him at home as a nursery because he couldn't go to school.
Yes.
Go to nursery school. And then the start of school, and I didn't work. And I couldn't work because of the fact of dropping him off, because we don't have family to help out. My husband's work just is not flexible in that kind of way at all. And they were doing the whole staggered intake sort of thing.
Yes.
And then so I had to drop him off at 9:30 in these little windows, and then pick him up at 2:30. And that went on for a whole term.
Yeah.
And all these funny sort of times. So it was so graduated. I think he just started mornings.
Weird way
and
to
then,
start school.
Yeah, it was.
Poor kids.
Yeah, and then of course Boris did one of his champion U-turns, didn't he? And so then they had a whole term back at home sort of thing. So I thought, I'm just going to have to go with it sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's why I thought, right, just don't worry about the whole job malarkey. Just be at home, be with your boy.
I know you have a little life in you yet. I know you have a lot of strength left. I know you have a little life.
Because I think,
I know you have a lot.
trying to, that whole sort of identity crisis thing and the anxiety that comes with it, explored a lot of mental health. I suppose that then really put me into the whole self-help journey and got me back very much into the complementary therapies and what can I do for myself. And that's when I started to think, right, and as my confidence grew a bit more, I thought, you can do this sort of thing. So I did a refresher course in reflexology.
I was going to ask if you'd done a refresher.
Yeah. So I did a refresher, and my sister, she's been working for quite a few years, well, good 10 or plus years doing therapy. So that's kind of given me confidence as well. So she's like, just go for it, So I did a refresher course, and then I did some more advanced training, like on menopause, maternity and facial reflexology, which we never learnt. It wasn't really such a thing when we learnt it, because it was back in 2000 when we did our course. So so that was really good. So and then just started from there. My plan was to be mobile, but actually more
to go to people's
homes, but I've got more people who wanted. Now I don't want you to come to my home. I'll have to tidy up. I come to you.
So when was that then?
That was. So it's relatively recent, really, in the past 18 months, really. So yes, I'm still very much. I feel at the early stages, sort of thing of it beginning, but it's great. I love it.
And then I guess so obviously you sort of saying, we've got to go on to the menopause thing then, obviously, because it's a topic that's prevalent for my particular age group. So what made you want to focus on that then
I think, just knowing I'm 45, it's, perimenopause, thank you very much. And, my sister.
And knowing that it's a hot topic as well.
That's it. And knowing it's one of those things, isn't it, where people think about the menopause once they've hit it. But I think we now know you've got the prep work's got to come in beforehand, and start to get, your self-care and have a far better understanding of ourselves and how our body works.
It's the biggest thing though, isn't it? Understanding kind of what's changed. And therefore, and also what to do about it. Because obviously you're bumped. I think there's not too much information, because I don't want to say that, because we've gone from no information to a lot of information. So but I personally find navigating the information out there kind of you've got there's supplements you can take, and then there's going on HRT, and then but one thing that's never, I don't think, talked about enough is alternative therapy. It's very much just go and take some drugs. Do you know what I mean? Just go and take drugs, and just kind of go, well, what if I don't want to? So if someone comes to you then and they are very symptomatic, I guess, what do you notice the most then when you're treating them? That's a really vague, annoying question, isn't it? But I don't know, I guess I'm just thinking of, is there anything that, as for women, I'm trying to make this particular section just career related, I guess helpful for women that are going through our perimenopausal and kind of like being able to spot things themselves? I don't know.
Yes. So, when people have come to me with, who are perimenopausal, menopausal, so the biggest things is sleep, the very, very poor sleep. Would be the primary thing, and then brain fog. So that seems to be one of the very big,
How do you treat that?
So
then?
So in reflexology,
can you feel all of that?
So like the reflex areas particularly for the brain is your toes. So you work the toes, and also like the big toe has got your pituitary gland, hypothalamus, and the pineal, which is which helps with your melatonin levels, which will help with sleep. So within those areas, what you can often feel is grit. It's like a little build up. So it's like little crystal build up, like little grains of sand. So that would be something. So for a menopausal woman, I'd work over the toes area a lot more. And also headaches and migraines, that can also be another thing with menopausal clients. So
unlike Reiki, you are actually touching the head insert, and actually sort of,
So-
treating the actual head, are you?
So-
when you're doing reflexology on the face.
On the face,
Oh,
yes.
face, sorry,
Yes,
yeah. So it's not like,
Yes.
so Reiki is more sort of
that's
energy
it. It's
work,
an energy.
isn't it?
No. So facial reflexology is far more gentle than foot reflexology, and so you're just using lighter oils. But yeah, you are the maps. You've got all the reflex areas mapped out on the face.
Wow.
So yes, you've got so like this whole area here is your sinuses.
Is it? How interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all mapped
Which actually
out.
does make sense.
It
I guess
does,
they go up sort of
yes.
through there, don't
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's very relaxing. So,
I guess what is so what kind of people do you treat then? I mean, what are you treating? Just all sorts?
So mainly all women.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I suppose I was.
It's a shame though, isn't
But
it?
it is a real shame. Yes, I suppose. Perhaps because I've also done further courses in women's health, really. So
Yeah, so it's your area of specialism.
but yeah, it's not really the same sort of, I suppose, phases for men. So you don't really get many courses that are for men's health.
No.
Maybe that's a gap, maybe. But,
I was going to say,
yeah, certainly mental health for
men, yeah. But even sort of everything, I think, as men age, is it testosterone levels that go down?
Yeah.
But yeah, just things like that. Like you say, men figuring out kind of, managing their hormone levels. And I think their body shifts,
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly aging and things like, arthritis and things like that. That's something that
Maybe you
reflexology
could
can help.
go and find a cure for male pattern baldness with reflexology. Could you imagine if you could? You'd make millions. Imagine if you could perform some kind of head reflexology that stimulates something, and then, I mean, that's when they'd flock
quest.
to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They'd flock to you for that, and you could also cure their mental health at the same time. But you'd have to give men a real, legit reason to come, wouldn't you?
A definite outcome. Yeah.
Definite outcome. I reckon there's something in that. Okay, so one of the questions I always ask is, and particularly seeing as you're only sort of probably hardcore 18 months into this, is where do you go from here? What's next?
Well, I hope to do more courses and be able to offer more facial treatments. So you can do. The lady I did it with, Zika Bergman. She also does a zone facelift. So that's a whole 12-week program that you can deliver to clients, and that
and that's all through sort of massage and touch and stuff.
So that combines many different therapies, but so that's obviously it's all very relaxing, but it also helps.
So way more relaxing than Botox then.
Yes, it's like a non-surgical facelift. Yes. So,
and are you promoting that you do that yet, or you've not started?
I haven't started that
yet.
Oh,
interesting.
Yes. Yeah,
you definitely get on the gram when you're doing that then.
So some more facial treatments, and I'd like to work more with children as well. So helping children with mental health as well. That would be because I've mainly done younger children, but so older children, and through doing fertility, the lady that I trained with that, she's on quite the quest to help support. People going through IVF and trying to make it so that it could be a treatment that is offered through the NHS.
Oh my gosh,
which would be wonderful.
Because women that only have, either not having kids, as all the news keeps going on about, or having them so much later now, I'm sure something like the average age is like late or mid-30s, which doesn't sound, but even that, I know a lot of women that have had children in their 40s now.
Yes. Yeah.
And like you say, the IVF route almost becomes a little bit necessary, but yeah. I wonder if those women try other stuff first?
I don't know. I think it's certainly not something that you're told about perhaps when you go through it, because
it's kind of like reflexology, acupuncture would also be good.
Yes.
But I say if they were offered.
Yeah, if they're offered.
Because IVF is not cheap for anybody,
Well, no.
not even the NHS. I know you get one go at it, don't you, on the NHS?
Depending where you live.
But you just think the NHS, surely, if these things can work, offer that first, and then if it's not, and maybe over a 6-month period, and then if not,
that's
IVF.
Because I had to have IVF in the end, so we'd been trying for, over 6-8 years sort of thing, and I didn't, it was...
It's not a thing, is it? It's not offered, or, there's no one saying, I did it. That's the problem, is it's... More people need to do it and tell people they're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, then let's face it, put it on social media so then other people know and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Is there anything, before I ask you my 3 final questions, is there anything about reflexology that you would like to share, would love people to know that we haven't already discussed?
I don't know where to start with that.
I was going to say, how long have you got?
I just think, it is actually currently World Reflexology Week, so I should,
Oh,
yes.
I should have known this before, because I could have got this pod out. Is it this actual week?
It is this week up until Sunday, yes. Yeah. But it's, what to say? It's just, I suppose, just give it a try. And the fact that there's, if some people come to me just for face, because they're like, do not touch my feet. There's always other options, you've got the face, feet or hands. But to give it a go, I think that it offers such a unique way of relaxation. That's what people say. The most people say, I don't know what happens. I almost just go off into a trance. It's different to having a massage. Massage is obviously lovely, but because it really gets into the parasympathetic nervous system, it really relaxes people in the way that you have your fight or flight. It works in the absolute opposite way of just really slowing everybody down and getting you out of your
system down,
out of your head, and just really in a very calm, relaxed space, and that helps your body to achieve the balance and heal in its own way.
Yeah, so basically you're helping your body.
Yes, that's
sort
what it's
itself
all.
out.
Yes, but equally it's just a really, I have regular clients who just come purely just for relaxation.
Yeah.
Just because they enjoy it
and like
so
you were saying,
much.
to lower those cortisone levels. And because the body, you're so right. The body is brilliant at healing itself.
Yeah.
That is what it's always trying to do. Every second of every minute of every hour of every day, it is trying to renew and heal itself. And it's just either what we're putting in or what we're doing to it that interrupts that. Mm-hmm. The more we can do just to help the body do what it needs to do, the better, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to my 3 final questions then. So the first question is always, is there any life advice or just advice that you would give your younger self? So that maybe that little Katie, or it could even be the Katie when your mum was poorly. It could be any version that you're comfortable answering about, but any advice you would like to give your younger self?
Just reeling the people pleasing. I think so many decisions I've made, I've always framed with the backdrop of, pleasing
Other people.
Yeah.
Rather than what's right for you.
Yes. So, and when I say people, it's people that I shouldn't have been trying to please at all. Yeah. So,
Raining and people pleasing.
Yeah.
Love it. The second question is, what advice do you think your older self would give you now? So let's say 65, 70-year-old Katie.
Oh.
She sits down. What do you think she would say to you now?
Oh, God. Well, I think on a very practical level, she might have a word with me about my timekeeping.
Just get there on time.
But I just think, just go for it. Just just be bold and
do brave. Just go for it.
Go for it. You know.
Yeah. Don't be scared.
Yes. Yeah.
It's funny that again, that or very similar advice to that pops up a lot when I ask this question. But it's ultimately really that's what that question is asking, is what your inner self is saying to you now, really, isn't it? Okay, then the final question is just advice or a mantra to throw out there to anyone. So is there a mantra that you live by, that you really swear by?
We often say in the house between myself and my husband, like when I do, you know, over the past few years, and you're like, oh, a bit worried about this or anxious about this, and blah, would it help? No, it wouldn't help. You know, are you going to, worrying? Would it help? No.
Yeah.
Like, do I need to go scrolling onto Facebook or anything? Would it help? No. You know, so I just often just pose that.
Okay.
Myself.
Is this actually going to be helpful?
Yeah. Would it help?
Yeah, would it help?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Well, have you ever watched the film Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks and Mark Rylance?
Yes.
And it was his line, would it help?
Was it?
Would it help? And we're like,
oh,
I'm going to keep that one.
yeah.
So we do. So that's what would it help say to each other. And then it just...
Brilliant advice. Yes. On that note, I want to say thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you would like to hear more about this chat, see some pics and read about how to get started in this industry and or this role, then please go to our website www.thiswomanswork.org. The link is on this podcast page and across our socials. Sincere thanks.